Hey everybody, it's Party Elite with another online battle. This time I take the Greenskins up against the Vampire Counts led by Stonewall Jackson. Ironically, this battle happened the same day I released the Defeat in Detail video, so surely Tzeentch arranged this as a joke. With that aside, army composition. So I'm going in with the Orc War Boss alongside an Orc Shaman, 3 units of Orc Boys, 3 units of Orc Biggins, 2 units of Black Orcs, 2 units of Orc Boar Boy Biggins, 2 units of Goblin Wolf Chariots, and a unit of Doomdiver Catapults. You'll see that one of the Orc Boys is ranked up to rank 1, and the Doomdiver Catapult is ranked up to rank 2. Meanwhile, the Vampire Counts are bringing in Manfred, a White King, a unit of Zombies, 5 units of Skeleton Warriors, 4 units of Crypt Ghouls, a unit of Grave Guards, 2 units of Black Knights, 3 units of Fellbats, and a unit of Terrorgeists. So a pretty standard fodder composition with some poison attacks that I should be concerned about, and let's see how that goes down on the battlefield. So I start this greenskin composition out a bit more densely packed than I usually do with the greenskins. I like to typically keep them pretty wide, but very early on in this battle you'll see these lines get a lot wider, and I'll explain what's going on, what my thinking was as it happens. Mainly, I think the most interesting part of this layout is what I've got going on either flank with these Black Orcs and these Orc Biggins. As you'll see, it's on both flanks, and also what I've got with these Doomdiver Catapults and the Orc Biggins. The idea here is that these Black Orcs, they are very capable fighters, they are very high-end, so I'm concerned that they're an ideal target for some early picking off, basically, with large or flying units. So I've got these Orc Biggins right behind them to provide some support. Together, these two form a block which will be harder to defeat by either kind of unit, whether it's a regular melee unit or a large unit, because these guys are bigger in order, they do have that bonus against large, and these guys are, well, all-around high-end troops, the Black Orcs. So that's the thinking behind both of these clumps on the flanks, and down the middle, same thing here, Doomdiver Catapult, in case there's an early engagement. I want to have the backup of the Orc Biggins in case it's a Terrorgeist or some Knights flanking. Meanwhile, off to the side, these Goblin Wolf Chariots, just going in for some early harass. I'm also trying to see what I can bait out in this direction. The main reason I brought these guys in is because of their missile damage. It's not much, but overall, in terms of range capabilities that the Greenskins have, I felt like the Wolf Chariots, because of their mobility, their speed, and their missile damage, they were the ideal way for me to go. Now, as I mentioned right away at the beginning, I do widen my lines a little bit. I push these Orc Boar Boy Biggins out to the side here because I see that the Terrorgeist is coming here, so I'm not so concerned about what's going to happen here. I've got these Orc Biggins and these guys as well to respond if necessary, but these Black Knights and the White King that were off to the back, I wanted to know where they were going to go. So I was hoping that by pushing these Orc Boar Boy Biggins out here, I would convince him that maybe I'm going to try and pull a flanking maneuver, and maybe he'd push his Black Knights out here to intercept, and that's exactly what happened. Now, it's highly possible that he was thinking of doing that anyway, but either way, I just wanted to try and convince him that one way or the other was the way to go with his cavalry so that I could go there and counter it. Because again, my Orc Boar Boy Biggins, they are anti-large. They're going to have a much better time dealing with these Black Knights than the Black Knights would dealing with me. So I want that engagement that's ideal for me. Also, you'll notice these Orc Biggins, I quickly add them to this clump now because I realize the Terrorgeist is over there and it looks like it has no plans of changing sides, so I can safely assume these Black Orcs are, well, safe. And in the meanwhile, these Orc Boar Boy Biggins, when they're engaging up front there, I want these Biggins to be able to intercept any infantry that decides to peel off and come this way. Meanwhile, I've got the Doomdiver Catapult firing into the Skeleton Warriors, though the better target would have been the Crypt Ghouls, to be honest. Their poison attacks, their poison damage is threatening, so had I thought that through a little bit better, I would have definitely targeted the Crypt Ghouls. Meanwhile, off to the side here, you'll see the Fellbats again interrupting my Goblin Wolf Chariots, and this Terrorgeist drops in on the Black Orcs. And what I do is I move the Black Orcs off to the side and push the Orc Biggins in. So what ends up happening ultimately is the Terrorgeist is surrounded by both Black Orcs and Orc Biggins, which means that it's taking damage of all kinds. It's taking damage from both of these unit types. So that's helping me a lot because, again, the Orc Biggins, they're bigger in order, they have that anti-large, and the Black Orcs all around, heavy hitting. So this is going to help me damage that Terrorgeist nice and heftily. Meanwhile, over here, my Orc Shaman gets one-shot killed with a magic missile, which is extremely upsetting because I was counting on the Shaman to support my lines, and without that Shaman, I'm losing out on a lot of buffs that would have helped my front lines in this incoming combat. Meanwhile, the Fellbats have occupied my Doomdiver Catapult, so no more catapult fire coming in there, and I decide to countercharge because against the Skeleton Warriors, I really want to get my charges in. My charge bonus is a lot higher. I want to make sure I'm negating their charges, and I want to get rid of these frontline engagements as quickly as possible. I even got Wa going down, giving me plus 58 to melee attack, because the longer these frontline engagements continue for, the more damage my units are going to take because of those poison attacks and because of morale damage from fear. Meanwhile, on this right flank over here, you'll see I've got the Orc Boarboy Biggins running in for that engagement, and when they hit the Black Knights, they're going to do a lot of damage. As you can see right away, this engagement is definitely in my favor, so I'm very glad that I could, bait these units out here, or at least intercept them if that's what he was already thinking of doing, and very quickly causing some serious damage. And, as I'd suspected, an infantry unit has peeled away and is coming this way. It does turn out to be the Graveguard as opposed to some skeletons, but nonetheless I have these Biggins to help intercept them as soon as I notice what's going on here. Meanwhile, I sent my Black Orcs around and behind to stop these zombies from jumping into the fray here, but it was too little too late. As you can see, my front lines are very quickly falling apart. They're starting to waver and break despite the War Boss in there trying to help. But over here on the left flank, I'd say this went quite well. The Terrorgeist is severely damaged, despite the support coming in from these Skeleton Warriors and the Crypt Ghouls. My sort of sideways maneuver, that looks terrible, my sideways maneuver helped pin that Terrorgeist for a very long time and cause a serious amount of damage. Unfortunately, it does manage to get away. Even though I send these Orc Biggins as well to tie it down, it manages to just push through and eventually take flight. Now off to the side here, very quickly you'll see these Black Knights, both units very quickly taken care of, and again these Biggins just intercepting the Graveguard, and while they're not doing the best against the Graveguard, they are able to at least pin them and keep them away from my Orc Boarboy Biggins, stop them from charging in from the side so I can guarantee my victory on this right flank. So my Orc Boarboy Biggins are now freed up for the most part. My Doomdiver Catapults that were frightened away by the Fell Bats are slowly recovering, so I will bring them back into the fray. And again, these Goblin Wolf Chariots, just keeping them off to the side and trying to trickle in some fire, assist these Black Orcs on this left flank, because again, I want to clear up the flanks as quickly as possible and push to the center. Now, between these two battles, I see that this particular one, I'm severely outnumbered, so I get the War Boss in there, drop Wa again. I want to quickly take care of these units. Those Crypt Ghouls give me a lot of cause for concern, because they can be, kept going for a very long time, and that poison damage is just very dangerous. It causes a lot of negative effects, and I don't want them, obviously. Meanwhile, I've got the Goblin Wolf Chariots now firing into Manfred, just trying to take him down slowly. Not doing a lot of damage, but, doing whatever I can. And finally, on this side over here, the Terrorgeist does dive in after popping a health potion, scaring off my unit. So, even though I'd won that flank initially, the Terrorgeist managed to get unpinned, flew all the way across, and then, won the flank for the Vampire Counts instead. Meanwhile, I've got Manfred just hovering over here, providing some fear factor, I guess, though the melee on the ground has been largely successful for myself. I am also pulling in these Orc Boys, and you'll see that Manfred dives into combat with my Orc War Boss, which is great for me, because I've got some Biggins here, I've got more Biggins here, I drop Stand Your Ground to make sure nobody goes running away, and I open fire from the Goblin Wolf Chariots, and I've got him fully surrounded, send in the Black Orcs as well, fully surrounded by units that will do a serious amount of damage to him. So I'm glad he made that mistake. I think he's just trying to recover some ground here, but that was a terrible decision. Meanwhile, I do set these Orc Boys up in a line, or I try to at least, so that I can hold these units back from entering this engagement. Great cast here. These zombies coming up, they're not gonna do a lot of damage or anything, but they interrupt these Orc Boys, freeing up these Skeleton Warriors to go and do as they please. However, it was too little too late. He's on his way out. And meanwhile, these Skeleton Warriors dive in with a lot of futility into this Greenskin horde. Meanwhile, off to the side here, you'll see the White King has engaged my Black Orcs, so that's a bit of a concern. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to go down. And overall, now it's just a slogfest, basically. Off here, the Orc Boarboy Biggins and the Orc Biggins come back into action, so sending them in to charge into the Graveguard, get this rear charge in, do some damage, and I get very fortunate. Again, bad call here, running into these Orc Boarboy Biggins, so I just pin him down, because again, these guys are anti-large. Manfred is on a flying mount, so he is of course large, and very quickly, bam, he's down, out for the count. All that's left for me to be worried about now is this Terrorgeist, so I do what I can again, bring in these Orc Biggins, they're very close, bring in the Black Orcs, just try and get a full surround, pin down that flying unit, and finish it off ASAP. And even though I'd got my Goblin Doomdiver Catapults engaged again, they were firing into these Graveguard, they do get scared off, very easy to frighten them. Goblins are very squishy when it comes to their morale, but Not too much of a concern for myself because, as you can see, this Terrorgeist is very quickly falling apart. Already it's crumbling, didn't take very long at all. And once I get my Orc War Boss involved, as you can see, I was wondering about doing that here, but instead I decided it would be better to give some support to these Black Orcs and take out this White King, because again, not entirely certain how much damage that could cause. I see these Graveguard diving in as well, and fortunately I have these Biggins chasing them, so I get a rear charge right away, causing a lot of morale damage, as you can see, and almost immediately I set them into crumbling. So again, you have to be very careful about managing your morale, both as the Greenskins and as the Vampire Counts, because as the Vampire Counts, once your morale drops, you're taking physical damage as well, which obviously not a good thing. So the Terrorgeist over here and these last remaining units over here all crumble and die, and there you have it, a Pyrrhic victory. Unfortunately, only a Pyrrhic victory. Would have loved to obviously make it a better one, but I was severely outnumbered, almost 1 to 2, but it was all about using those units appropriately, creating those blocks so that no matter where the enemy large units came in, I had a response. I think that was extremely helpful because it allowed me to tie down that Terrorgeist twice, not once but twice, and also using my Orc Boarboy Biggins to try and bait out the Black Knights off to the side there so that they weren't free to engage the front lines from the rear, so that they couldn't get their rear charges off. And again, that sort of composition where, that layout where you're keeping units that can support each other very close to each other can be very helpful, because had I not done that, the Terrorgeist could have probably done some good work to my Black Orcs, and the Black Orcs, they got 137 and 136 kills, so they did a lot of heavy hitting. So had they been wiped out nice and early, that would have been a serious concern for me, of course. Overall, I hope this battle showed you something interesting about how you can lay out some of your units in collectives, in blocks that can help counter various kinds of units, so that working together, they can take down any type of adversary. I will be doing a bit of a guide video on that topic. I feel like it's something that a lot of people miss out on or don't keep in mind as the combat continues. So make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content, and apart from that, thank you very much for joining, and I'll see you next time.